Hi there, welcome back to the channel. My name is Fred Macedo and I'm here with my friends Ruben, Rosalie and Rosangela. And we are here for another Gospel at Home. After our prayer, that Rosangela is gonna say it, I will pick a random theme of the Gospel or the Book of Spirits. Please, Rosangela.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Rosangela. Now I'm gonna share my screen. I'm reading the Book of Spirits, the Three Kingdoms, Minerals and Plants. Question 585. What do you think of the division of nature into three kingdoms or into two classes, organic beings and inorganic beings? Some regard the human species as a fourth kingdom. Which of these divisions is preferable? The spirits answer, they are all good. It depends on one's point of view. From a material point of view, there is only inorganic and organic beings. From the mental point of view, however, there are obviously 4 degrees. Kardec comments, these 4 degrees in fact have well-marked characteristics, although their edges seem to blend into each other. Inert matter, which comprises the mineral kingdom, possesses no more than a mechanical energy. Plants, although composed of inert matter, are endowed with vitality. Animals, composed of inert matter and endowed with vitality, also have a kind of instinctive, limited intelligence, with an awareness of their existence and individuality. Lastly, human beings possess everything that exists in plants and animals, and they dominate all the other classes through a special and unlimited intelligence that provides them with the awareness of their future, the perception of extra material things, and the knowledge of God. Only men have these characteristics. 586. Do plants have any awareness of their existence? No, they do not think. They have only organic life. 587. Do plants feel sensations? Do they suffer when mutilated? Plants receive the physical impressions that act upon matter, but they do not have perceptions. Consequently, they do not feel the sensation of pain. 588 is the force that attracts plants toward each other, independent of their will? Yes, because they do not think. It's a mechanical force of matter acting upon matter. They cannot oppose it. 589. Some plants, the mimosa and dionaea, for example, show movements that indicate great sensitivity, and in some cases a kind of will, like the latter. Those lobes seize the fly that lands on it in order to suck its juice, seeming to have set a trap to kill it. Are these plants endowed with the faculty of thought? Do they have a will And do they form an intermediary class between plant and animal nature? Do they comprise a transition from the one to other? Everything is nature, is in transition by the same fact that one thing does not resemble another, and that everything nevertheless is linked together. Plants do not think, and consequently have no will. The oyster, which opens itself, and all other zoophytes, do not possess thoughts. They have no more than blind and natural instinct. Kardec comments, the human organism furnishes us with examples of analogous movements that do not involve any participation of the will, such as the digestive and circulatory functions. The philorus closes itself on contact with certain substances to refuse their passage. The same applies to the mimosa, whose movements do not imply any perception at all, much less a will. I think mimosa is like a carnivorous plant. When a fly uh, goes go in his open mouth, I don't know what it's called. The plant closes itself, but this is no will. This is just natural instinct. 5 590. In plants as in animals, isn't there an instinct for self-preservation that leads them to seek what may be useful to them and to avoid what may harm them? There is, if you wish, a kind of instinct. It depends on the extent you attribute to the world, but it's purely mechanical. When you see two bodies combine during a chemical reaction, it is because they harmonize with each other. That is, there is an affinity between them, but you do not call it instinct. 591. On more highly evolved worlds, are the plants like the other beings more perfect in nature? Everything is more perfect, but plants are always plants, as the animals are always animals, and as the human beings are always human beings. Um, in more evolved worlds, animals are more perfected. Plants are more perfected also, but they continue to be plants and animals. Animals and human beings. 592. If we compare human beings with animals in relation to intelligence, it seems difficult to establish a line of demarcation because certain animals on this earth have an obvious superiority over certain humans. Can such a line of demarcation be established in a precise manner? Your philosophers are not in much agreement about this subject. Should Some should want for humans to be animals, and others for animals to be humans. Both are wrong. Humans are beings apart, who sometimes sink very low, or who may sometimes ascend very high. In their physical nature, humans are like the animals, and less well endowed than many of them. Nature has given the animals everything that humans are obligated to invent with their intelligence in order to provide for their own needs and self-preservation. Their body is destroyed like that of the animals, that is certain, but their spirit has a destiny that they alone can comprehend because they are alone they alone are completely free. Pure humans, who debase yourselves more than wild animals. Don't you know how to distinguish yourselves from them? Recognize human beings through their ability to think about God and our free will. 593. Could we say that animals act only through instinct? That again is a theory. It's quite true that instinct dominates most animals, but don't you see some that act from a determined will? It is because they have limited intelligence. They have some sort of intelligence, but it's limited. Kardec comments, one could not deny to certain animals the practice of complex actions that denote the will to act in a determinate sense beyond instinct and according to circumstances. Therefore, there is in them a kind of intelligence, but in exercising it, they are concentrated it on more on the means of satisfying their physical needs and providing for their self-preservation. Among them there is no creation, no improvement. Whatever may be the skill that they admire in their labors, that which they did yesterday is the same as what they do today, neither better nor worse, according to constant and unvarying forms and proportion. Offspring, separated from their species, do not fail to build their nests in accordance with the same model without having been taught. If some animals are capable of certain amount of learning, such intellectual development is always restricted within narrow limits and is due to human action on a flexible nature. They cannot make any progress by themselves, and when they do make progress, it is ephemeral and purely individual, because if abandoned to themselves, they quickly return to the limits traced out for them by nature. I don't recall the name of the chimpanzee, the monkey that was taught like I think 200 uh, gestures by a researcher, and this monkey was capable of responding, answering when it it was hungry, it was thirsty, when it wanted to take a walk, uh, but they are not capable of complex thoughts like, um, are you sad? Um, uh, um, Philosophical things, because its intelligence, it's limited. 594. Do animals have language? If you mean a language formed of words and syllables, no. But if you mean a way of communicate amongst themselves, then yes. They say many more things than you might suppose, but their language is limited to their needs, as their thoughts. There are animals that possess no voice. Aren't they deprived of language? They understand one another by other means. Don't you human beings use more than speech to communicate with one another? And mutes, what about them? Since animals are endowed with a life of relationships, they have means of warning each other and of expressing the sensations they experience. Do you think that fish do not understand each other? Human beings do not have the exclusive privilege of language, but the language of animals is instinctive and limited exclusively to the circle of their own needs and thoughts, while, while that of humans is perfectible and lends itself to all the conceptions of their intelligence. Kardec comments, actually, fish like swallows, which migrate in mass obeying the lead, must have means of warning and understanding one another and grouping together. Perhaps having a sharper sight allows them to see the signs that they make to each other. Or perhaps the water is a vehicle that transmits certain vibrations to them. Whatever the case may be, it's undeniable that they have the means available to understand one another in the same way. Agora não posso aqui. Só um minuto, gente. Tá na geladeira, tá na geladeira. Sorry. Whatever the case may be, it's undeniable that they have the means available to understand one another in the same way as the animals deprived of voice perform activities in common. In light of this, must one wonder at spirits being able to communicate with one another without the recourse to articulated speech? Now a very good one. 595. Do animals have free will? They are not simple machines as you might suppose, but their freedom of action is limited to their needs and cannot be compared to a human freedom. Since they are far less evolved than human beings, they do not have the same duties. Their freedom is restricted to the actions of their material life. 596. Where do certain animals get their aptitude to imitate human language? And why is this aptitude found more among birds than among apes, for example? Those body structure is more analogous to the human structure. The particular conformation of the vocal organs aided by the instinct of imitation. Apes imitate gestures, like the monkey I commented. Certain birds imitate the voice. Since animals 597. Since animals have an intelligence that gives them a certain freedom of action, is there in them a principle independent of matter? Yes, and it survives their body. If this principle a soul similar to that of humans, it's a soul, if you would like. It depends on the meaning you attach to the world. It's less evolved than that of humans. However, between the souls of animals and humans, there is a great difference, as there is between the human soul and God. Um, any questions? So I will stop here. We have for what we have learned so far, that animals may have some sort of intelligence, but they are very limited. Even if we teach a dog to do spectacular things and complex things, it would be always a dog. And if we stop asking it to do those things, they will not perform better over time. There is a limitation in their intelligence, and they do not have free will like we all do. And free will for us human, it's is it's a characteristic of us that improves over time. If we were 20,000 years ago cavemen, and woman in caves, our free will was limited, but 20, 30,000 years from that period of time, we now live in a complex society, and we can exercise our free will with more um, freedom. But um, our brothers, animals, they are limited. Now I'm gonna thank you, all my friends, all the friends that are watching, and thank Jesus for this opportunity to study the Book of Spirits, to improve our English, to improve our knowledge from the Book of Spirits. And I want to make a prayer for all those who suffer in wars, in poverty, in everything. I'm going to ask Jesus to ease all the pain there is today. We know that everything has a purpose, that God is all about good and loving, and all injustice is just apparent injustice. And I'm going to ask Rosangela for our final prayer.
We thank the good spirits who have come to communicate with us angels and to help us put into practice the instruction they have given us. We also hope they will ensure that each uniform as at the end of the session is fortified in the practice of good and love for our neighbor. We also wish these lessons may be useful for the suffering, ignorance, or visions spiritus who will be able to attend this meeting and for whom we implore the mercy of God. God bless you all.
Yeah. Good night, everyone.